I mean, I was never a heavy drug addict or anything. I never did heroin or meth. I tried crack cocaine once. That was... yeah. But I was only sober for 8 months between that and when Eddie, an old buddy of mine, introduced me to something called K3. And against my better judgment, I took him up on that offer. "You heard of K2, bro?" he said. He was already high. "Spice, yeah, synthetic weed." "Well, listen, man." I blinked. I looked at our mutual friend, Todd, and then back at Ed. "Listen... what?" "What?" "You said, well, listen, man, and then you spaced out." "Oh. What were we talking about?" "K3. Oh, right. You heard of K2? Yes, I just said that." He leaned in close. "Well, listen, man. This shit is like K2 and then some. Hence the name. K4. I thought you said it was K3. Todd stepped in.
Okay, ignore him. He's gone. This isn't synthetic anything, Kev. It's something new.
Then why did he call it K4?
It's carefree.
Then why do you call it K3?
He calls it that because the high reminds him of being on Spice or something. But this shit is like on another level, and it ain't gonna be like nothing.
I shifted in my seat. Okay, I'm not... I mean, you remember what happened last year, yeah?
Aye. Nay, I got you. Listen though, I have done this shit 4 times already. Haven't had one bad trip yet. First trip I was just like, high off my arse. Nothing made sense. Second trip I was like an astronaut, bro. I think I saw what exists outside the universe.
Okay, so what exists outside the universe?
I said I saw it. Not that I remember it, but it was wild.
I was warming up to the idea. So, how long does the high last?
Depends on the hit and the quality.
He held up a small bag of pills.
And you know me, man. I only got the best.
Muffin growled from the other side of the room.
Muffin! Hey! Down, girl!
Is she okay?
She's fine, dude.
She's fine, dude. Eddie echoed, and then he started laughing. Oh, jeez, is he already on this stuff now?
Took it right before you got here. I wanted someone to be sober enough to explain it to you.
Thanks? Thanks yourself, person, you blithering snarch, Eddie said before he resumed laughing. Thanks, Ed. Todd popped his pill in his mouth, and I did the same. After a moment, he said,
How you feeling?
Me? Fine. How long is this supposed to take to kick in? He smiled.
Should be feeling it momentarily, my dude.
Muffin started growling again. Todd clapped once.
Muffin! Shush, girl. Come on.
I looked at her. She was standing in a crate, baring her teeth, with the hair on her back standing on end. I don't think she's okay, man.
She's fine. Ed, you good?
I looked at Eddie. He was face down in the cushions of the couch, and he wasn't laughing anymore. He was shivering. I said, Are we gonna get cold or something?
I usually don't. Every hit's different and every person's different. All I know, it's fucking fun.
Okay. Ed didn't look like he was having much fun. He doesn't look like he's having much fun, I said. Yes, well, you know how friends can be, sweetie, my mom said. Yeah, I know, Mom.
What?
I said I know, Mom.
I am not your mother,
said Pastor Lewis. Oh, I said. I'm sorry. He leaned in from where Todd had been. He looked concerned, disappointed, had his elbows on his knees and his hands clasped between them. Kevin, you know you shouldn't be doing this. I know. Especially after what happened last year. What were you thinking? Thought I could handle it, I guess? I stared at the floor. The way the colors in the carpet swirled in and out was always so mesmerizing. It's gonna be a bad trip, you know. I looked up. Pastor Lewis had that old evil smile he always had. Or did he? I furrowed my brow. What?
It's gonna be a bad trip,
he said again, in a deeper voice.
Todd said all the trips he had were fun. It doesn't mean it's impossible to have a bad one.
Oh, Pastor Lewis doesn't sound like that. Man, who the fuck is Pastor Lewis? Said Todd in Pastor Lewis's voice. I blinked, and Todd was sitting there, looking at me like I'd lost my mind. I cleared my throat, but I couldn't feel it. My old youth pastor from back in the day, I said. Muffin barked from her kennel. It was a deafening, alien-sounding bark, gravelly, dark. I looked over at her, and she looked at me. She barked again, but this time she didn't open her mouth to do so. Whoa, I said.
What?
Said Todd. He was crawling on the ceiling and looking down at me in a way that should have broken his neck. Cool how your dog can bark without moving her mouth. Can you sit down? You're weirding me out.
Yeah, sorry.
Pastor Lewis said, before sitting down and becoming Todd, and then Todd said, laughing hysterically,
I am sitting, man.
He was indeed sitting. I looked up, and nobody was on the ceiling, and no indication that anyone had been. He was doubled over with laughter, howling, aching laughs. He held his stomach. Is it that funny?
It ain't that. The spiders in your ears are singing.
I smiled. Oh yeah? What are they singing? But Todd couldn't stop laughing long enough to respond. But he didn't need to. I could hear it too. Dude, I said, they're singing that one song from Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. And then Todd laughed even harder.
Man, what? What? You spelled it wrong, my dude.
What?
Go back. You spelled dwarves wrong. It should be dwarves, not dwarves. What the fuck is dwarve?
I scrolled up, and there it was. Dwarves. Huh. That's weird. Huh. That's weird. Todd was still laughing, far harder and longer than the situation warranted. How am I seeing words that I spoke? I asked. I grabbed the R in Dwarves so I could rearrange the word, but the R slapped me just as Muffin barked again. Bark, smack. Just like that. A single bark sounded like Satan. I sat back down. Easy there, dwarves, I said. I just want to spell it right next time, damn.
Make sure you do,
said Muffin. One by one, the letters compressing the word dwarves headed out of the kitchen window. Dude, I said. Todd, the letters are escaping. Stop the letters. Stop the letters.
I can't hear you, bro.
Said Todd in Pastor Lewis's voice. Or maybe it was Pastor Lewis and Todd's voice. Who were they again? Fuck. Whoever it was said,
Come downstairs.
I am downstairs, I said before stubbing my toe on his bedroom dresser. I took a step back. I was in his bedroom, upstairs. The place was a wreck. That's... Wait. How did I...
Come downstairs,
said Muffin demonically. I couldn't see her, but somehow I just knew that she was standing at the bottom of the stairs on two legs with her head upside down. You know when you know a dog would just look like that? It was one of those times. That's okay, I said. I like it up here. I pulled one of his dresser drawers out, dumped out all his underwear and condoms, and put it on my head for protection. No way you're getting me now, you bitch. I sat down on his bed, but his bed was on the other side of the room. Ow, I said, sitting on his floor. Hurt my ass.
go downstairs,
said Muffin from so close behind me that she must have been inside my head. Get out of my head, I said. The power of the dresser compels you. She was crawling on the ceiling, looking down at me in a way that should have broken his neck. Hey! He was crawling on the ceiling, looking down on me in a way that should have broken his neck. Stop it! He was crawling on the ceiling, looking down at me in a way that should have broken his neck. Stop repeating that sentence!
What sentence?
Said Todd. He was in his room. At least I think he was? I don't know, man. I blinked again, and he wasn't there. I could hear him laughing downstairs hysterically. Holy shit, I could hear myself say. I sounded distant, underwater. I am not in control right now. I started crawling towards the hallway, and he was crawling on the ceiling, looking down at me in a way that should have broken his neck. I shoved the sentence aside. The letters crashed into the wall and melted. I kept crawling, but now my hands were getting stuck in the quicksand. Shit, I said. Here we go. I made it out to the door, but the dresser drawer on my head was too wide. I turned the other way, the only possible solution to that problem, and went for the stairs. Downstairs, Eddie was up and about again, and was approaching Muffin's kennel, bent over, walking unnaturally, wide-eyed, mouth open, out of his mind. Muffin was howling and barking hysterically, but was also silent. Well, that's weird, I said.
It's gonna be a bad trip.
You already said that, Pastor Lewis. I'm asking why I can't hear Muffin bark.
It's gonna be a bad trip.
He said again. He was crawling on the ceiling, looking down at me in a way that should have broken his neck. Why is everything repeating? I asked aloud. He was crawling on the ceiling, looking down at me in a way that should have broken his neck. Why is everything repeating? I asked aloud.
Drink water, bro.
Said Todd. He handed me a glass of water, and I tried to drink it upside down. The water spilled into the swirling vortex that was his floor. Oh man, I said. I lost the water. Well, where did you have it last, sweetie? Said Mom. I looked at the empty glass. I can't remember. Hey, Roy Rogers, what did I do with my water, man? Did I eat it? Roy Rogers didn't respond. He was too busy floating on an upside-down chair that was attached to the ceiling. Schnarch! Said his chair. Roy Rogers, who was also my Uncle Mo, tipped his hat. Well, let me know if you find it, I said. I could have sworn I had it at... Ah!
It's gonna be a bad trip, you know?
Why am I just now hearing Muffin barking? That was like an hour ago. I looked over. Eddie had picked up her kennel with her still inside and was holding it above his head. He was consumed in an absolute and utter panic, and he was trying to eat the entire cage. He unhinged his jaw to fit it inside, revealing exactly 14,543 razor-sharp teeth, all the size of railroad spikes. Ed, stop! I heard myself say. I said. I squeezed my eyes and shook my head. Ed, stop! I heard myself say. Why? His face was static, like when you turn on your TV to a channel that you don't own. Ed, put her down and get that static off your face. He was crawling on the ceiling and looking down at me in a way that should have broken his neck. What? Eddie said. He dropped the kennel. Muffin yelped. I don't know, man, I said. Your face, it's all staticky, like when you turn on a TV channel that you don't own. My face is static? Eddie said through the static. He started clawing at it. And who's crawling on the ceiling looking down at you in a way that should have broken his neck? That sentence seemed pretty out of place. I heard the words, but I didn't see them coming from Eddie's mouth. In fact, Eddie wasn't even standing there anymore. He was in the kitchen, getting a knife. Shit.
It's gonna be a bad trip.
Shut up, Pastor Lewis. I know that now. Eddie started swiping the knife in front of his face. Get off me, Static, he said. Get off me, Static! I put the knife down. Ed, stand up. Wait, no. I stood up. Eddie knifed, putting the set down. Damn it! I stood up. Ed, put the knife down. There we go.
It's gonna be a bad trip, you know?
I turned around. Pastor Lewis was on top of the stairs, but it wasn't Pastor Lewis. It was a perfectly black figure. Pastor Lewis, you know, black is slimming on you. Come upstairs, said the figure. But it didn't sound like Pastor Lewis anymore. But it did sound like static, almost as if the static had formed itself into words. I can't. I have to save my friend from the static knife. Come upstairs, said the figure. Come upstairs. Come upstairs. Come upstairs. Upstairs. Come upstairs. Come upstairs. Stairs. Come upstairs. Crawling on the ceiling, looking down at me in a way that should have broken his neck. Neck. Nard. Bark. Static off. Static.
Get stat.
Yo! Who the fuck is Pastor Lewis? He was crawling on the ceiling, looking down at me in a way that should have broken his neck. Come upstairs, sweetie.
It's gonna be a bad trip, you know?
No! I was falling. I realized. Falling. And it was hot. Wherever this endless tunnel was, it was dark and hot. That's a bad combination, usually, isn't it? I haven't been in many dark and hot places, but having experienced it, I'd say I'd much rather be in bright, cool places. Help me, I said. I felt asphalt. Help me! I'm falling! I saw lights coming on from the side of the pit. Come upstairs, said a single voice from behind me that was also Todd, Pastor Lewis, Eddie, and my mother, all at once. This isn't a bad trip, Kevin, the voice continued. It's real, and you know that. What you thought was real was the trip. Time, space, those are illusions. That's what exists behind the veil. This is the nothingness that exists outside the universe. This is the nothingness that awaits you in the end. No! Falling. Get him up to his feet. Come upstairs and get that thing off his head. Come upstairs. Join the static. Static! Clark, are you okay? I blinked. Hey, kid, said the officer. You okay? I looked around. I was lying in the street. Concerned neighbors and police cars were everywhere. Most were in front of Eddie's house. Muffin whimpered in her crate next to me. What? What happened? Well, you were screaming, I'm falling! No! With a dog kennel and a dresser drawer over your head, and no shoes. I was hoping you'd tell me. I think I was saving Muffin, I said. Who's Muffin? The dog? Yeah. Saving her from what? My friend was gonna kill her, I think. Then he tried to cut his face off because it was all static. Holy shit. My now sober brain processed unsober words. Holy shit, that stuff was insane. Yeah, I'd say that's a fair assessment, dumbass. You're lucky you didn't jump off the roof. Can you stand? The officer helped me to my feet, and I stumbled towards his car. Oh, wait, I said. What happened to Todd and Eddie? Are they okay? He looked at me. No, kid, they are not okay. This is why you don't fuck with the stuff. Now we're gonna have to clean up what's left. Just sit there. He went off to talk to the other officers and the paramedics. Shit. Paramedics? 2 gurneys. An ambulance. I came to a full 36 hours later, in my own bed. As I later found out, Eddie did succeed in cutting the static off his face, along with the rest of his face. The last I heard of Todd, he was in a straitjacket. Muffin was given to a shelter, and then to another family, so there's some good news, I guess. At least, as for myself, I was told the effects might never wear off. I didn't believe them at first. I mean, who would? But how do you even process that kind of news? Fuck, I don't know. And all I know is that black figure is still standing at the edge of my hallway, asking me to join it. And I can still hear the static. Static. A swarm of flies. I guess they would sound pretty similar when you're under the influence. You know, overindulgence in drugs is often the most common form of gluttony in the modern day and age, outside of just eating a bunch of food. This one was particularly fun. I made this special little batch all myself. I have to say, I was a bit surprised when I got to see things from his perspective, but, you know, I guess this all makes sense. I really wasn't paying too much attention to what I threw in the mixture, so I'll have to write this down for record holding. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this story, my brood. It was incredibly fun. I'll make sure to get an even more interesting one for next weekend. Until then, my brood, have a good night.